All set? Okay. Good evening, all. I'll call the meeting to order. My name is Richard Stewart. I'm the Mayor of Coquitlam, and on behalf of City Council, I want to welcome everyone this evening. It's a public hearing into the bylaws that will be introduced to you in a moment by the Legislative Services Manager. Council for the City of Coquitlam has given first reading of these bylaws and has directed that a public hearing be held. Staff from the City's Planning and Development Department will first present a summary of each proposed bylaw in order. The floor will then be opened to anyone in attendance that wishes to present his or her views on the proposed bylaw before us. Those that have pre-registered will be given first opportunity to speak. I stress to you all that this is a public hearing. It's an opportunity for anyone who has a view on the proposed bylaw to make that view known to council members. Council members are here with an open mind and are here to listen to your input. No one has prejudged the outcome of these applications, but there are some procedural rules. I'll go through them. It's not a question and answer period. It's not an opportunity to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw with either council members, with staff, or with those in the audience who may be opposed to your particular point of view. So we ask that you all restrict your comments to the proposed bylaw before us, be as brief and concise as possible. We are asking speakers to respect the 5-minute time limit, in order that everyone who wishes to speak is able to do so. Speakers are permitted to speak more than once if they have more new or additional information to provide, but they'll have to get in the back of the line. I ask that the audience be respectful of each speaker and allow that speaker to make his or her point without interruption. To that end, we ask members of the audience to refrain from clapping, cheering, or booing any presentation made this evening. As chair of this hearing, I reserve the right to conclude any presentation that does not relate to the bylaw before us. We also must not have any presentation or any information given about other addresses in the neighborhood. It's about the bylaw before us. I would also conclude any presentation that becomes abusive or becomes repetitive of views that the speaker has already made known to council members. Please note, if you wish to provide a written submission that you've got with you to be included in the record of the meeting, you must hand in that submission to the clerk prior to the adjournment of the related item on the agenda. That's the clerk's desk there. Please note also that council cannot receive any additional information, written or verbal, after adjournment of the public hearing item and prior to the consideration of the respective bylaws for eventually fourth and final reading or for rejection. Immediately following adjournment of the public hearing tonight, we'll convene a regular council meeting in order that council can give consideration to items on the public hearing agenda, as well as items on the council agenda. However, if during the public hearing council requests further information related to an item, consideration of that item will be deferred pending receipt of the requested information. I will now call on Estuta to introduce the bylaws on tonight's agenda and Planning and Development staff to make a presentation on the first item.
Thank you, Your Worship. Item 1 is an application to amend City of Coquitlam zoning bylaw to rezone a portion of the property located at 3512 David Avenue from A3 Agricultural and Resource to RT2 Townhouse Residential and P5 Special Park. This is bylaw number 4740.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of Council. My name is Pat Lau. I'm the Senior Planner for the Development Services Division of the Planning and Development Department. Item 1 is proposed zoning amendment bylaw number 4740-2017, located on a portion of 3512 David Avenue. The subject site is a city-owned site located on the north side of David Avenue to the west of Mitchell Street. The subject site is currently zoned A3 Agricultural and Resource. The surrounding properties are zoned A3 Agricultural and Resource, RS8, Large Village Single Family Residential, and RT2, Townhouse Residential. The subject site is designated Townhousing and Environmentally Sensitive Area in the Partington Creek Neighborhood Plan. The subject site is not to be confused with the Partington Creek Neighborhood Center Official Community Plan Amendment application, identified in yellow on the map, whereby the Section 475 consultation recently concluded on March 23rd. This application will be brought forward at a future date for council consideration. The applicant proposes to rezone a portion of the site from A3 Agricultural and Resource to RT2 Townhouse Residential to create a lot approximately 2.1 hectares in size for a future townhouse development. A portion will be rezoned from A3 Agriculture and Resource to P5 Special Park to allow for dedication and protection of an environmentally sensitive area adjacent Burke Mountain Creek. A north-south trail connection will be completed within the P5 lot. Staff recommend that council give second and third readings to bylaw number 4740-2017.
You, Councillor Reid has a question.
Thank you. I have a question for you.
Ms. Lau?
Thank you. So out of this whole parcel, we're just doing one development site, correct? And the rest will virtually be used for retention of something. We'll have the P5 and we'll have
Yes.
portions of the road, and so basically public space other than the one. My second question is, I have concerns on page 5 where you're starting to talk about, because this will go out for market eventually, building with the slope to minimize cut and fill excavations and retaining walls if required. I'm having a bit of difficulty with that, and I'd like to address that question to Mr. McIntyre on what I understood that we were going to be looking at doing some better protection so that we don't end up with these huge retaining walls. I'm concerned about this site.
Mr. McIntyre.
Yes, thank you, Worship. Just a couple quick comments from my perspective, and I'll hand it off to George if you don't mind. George Fuji, our Director of Development Services, is actually leading a project team now looking at retaining walls. But yes, the review's underway. I know with this application, being aware of the increasing concern with retaining wall heights, it was looked at very closely, and I believe this site, though it is sloped, it can be developed without resorting to extreme retaining walls. We do have some work underway right now, and if council wishes, perhaps George can speak further about that.
Well, my concern would be that if we approve this as it's written and as you're showing all the site design principles and guidelines here, I am not in favor of the retaining walls and all that as they sit now in our bylaws. So I'm wondering if we can pass this or delay it until we get the appropriate bylaws in place for large retaining walls.
If I could just make a comment on this. When the first reading report went forward on this particular lot, I raised that issue because I've been one of those who's really been pushing for the retaining wall review, and I was advised that this particular site did not have the characteristics that we should worry about in that regard. And there's some other sites more to the east that are much more problematic, but I did specifically raise that issue in the first reading report, and I was advised that that wouldn't be. Having said that, before we go to market, we have every interest in terms of not continuing those retaining wall sites, and you have our assurance that this particular site will not have the very large walls that we have seen in other sites.
So I shouldn't qualify that in my approval? That's my question.
We haven't. Okay, we'll have to get to the speakers list shortly, very quickly, actually.
And just
Mr. Fuji.
Yeah, through the chair, and just to clarify that within the site design principles guidelines, which we've developed for this particular site, the reference says is to if retaining walls are required, that they be stepped, not steep. Because I was looking at this too, but it says step retaining walls if required, and incorporate landscaping and plantings into design. and we're working with a retaining wall height not to exceed 1.2 meters in height, which is what the current zoning bylaw maximum is.
I realize it says step and not steep, but I'm still opposed to the way this is written. So, thank you. Carry on then.
Okay. Normally we would hear from the first speaker, but I'm going to, if Councillor Marsden had a question you need clarified first.
I do. I'm sorry, Pat, if you could come back for a moment and we could look at the previous slide. So this slide indicates that we're dealing with 5.1 acres from A3 to R2 and 0.84 from A3 to P5. So basically 5.94 acres, correct?
Through the chair, yes. That's
Okay.
correct.
Page 2 of the report indicates that the site size is 8.7 acres. So I'm just curious, which is correct, the 8.7 or the 5.95? Or is there another portion of lands that are different? I see Mr. McIntyre's,
I suspect there's some
it may well be, but
dedication of roads, but Mr.
want
Mr.
clarification.
McIntyre.
Yes, no, there is areas being dedicated, I think, both on the David Avenue frontage and the north-south, is it Miller that's going up there? So those would be other areas that would be deducted from the site area, the zone portions.
okay. So there'll be a portion of this property then is unzoned?
Well, no. Yeah, the zoning typically goes out to the center line of the roads.
Exactly.
So, but these would be the lot sizes here. The eventual lot sizes that will be created after the road dedications are made. The subdivision to create the development site and as well the park corridor.
Okay, so the difference then, what I'm hearing is that the P5, the special park area, will be that 0.84 acres, and then the rest of it will be RT2 and roadway, that type of thing, but it's not detracting from the park space that we're allotting, is that correct? Because we're dealing with 2.5 acres of variance, or almost 3 acres of variance between the two numbers.
Through the chair to Councillor Marsden, the gross site area of the subject property is 3.5 acres, approximately 3.5 hectares, which is 8.7 acres.
Exactly.
And of the gross site area, and I've got the looking here, is 2.2 hectares, around 5 acres, is proposed to be rezoned to RT2, and the balance would be rezoned to the P5 special park.
That's not what this says.
Yeah, the slide says that it would create a lot of 5.1 acres, which means that's net of the roadway, and a sensitive area of 8.4 acres. That's obviously net of roadway, because roadway can't be considered sensitive area.
The other.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're covering off the full lot, that again, we got 5.9 and 8.7. I just want to make sure that we're not leaving some piece untouched
That's correct.
or uncertain, but it still remains A3.
Yeah, so to be more accurate, this slide should have a fourth bullet that said create 2.3 acres of roadway or road allowance.
Okay,
Or something.
thank you. Good. Thanks, Pat.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our first speaker on this is Ms. Erica Tiffany. She's with Strategic Initiatives City of Coquitlam on behalf of the applicant.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, my name is Erica Tiffany, representing the Strategic Initiatives Department, and here as the applicant representative tonight. Strategic Initiatives, as the site developer, is preparing the subject site for future sale to a townhouse builder, and as part of that preparation, we are also completing the requisite rezoning, subdivision, and watercourse development permit applications in preparation for that future selling to a builder. I am available and happy to answer any questions that you might have with respect to the rezoning bylaw. Thank you.
Seeing none, that's the only registered speaker we have. Are there any speakers to this item? Are there any speakers to this item? Third and final time, are there any speakers to this item? Seeing none, I will declare this item closed.
2 is an application to amend City of Coquitlam zoning bylaw to rezone the properties at 3500 Baycrest Avenue, 1235 and 1245 Mitchell Street from RS2 one family suburban residential to RS7 small village single family residential and RS8 large village single family residential. This is bylaw number 4746.
Item 2 is proposed zoning amendment bylaw number 4746, 2017, located at 3500 Baycrest Avenue and 1235 and 1245 Mitchell Street. The subject site is located at the southeast corner of Baycrest Avenue and Mitchell Street. The subject site is currently zoned RS2, one family suburban residential. Surrounding properties are zoned RS2, one family suburban residential, and RS8, large village, single family residential. A BC Hydro right-of-way traverses along the northeast portion of the subject site. The site is primarily designated Baycrest low density residential, and the portion of BC Hydro right-of-way is designated open space in the Partington Creek neighborhood plan. The applicant proposes a rezoning from RS2 one family suburban residential to RS7 small village single family residential and RS8 large village single family residential to allow for the subdivision of 21 single family lots. Each lot with lane access will be able to accommodate 2 parking spaces within a garage and 1 parking pad for a potential secondary suite. Staff recommend that Council give second and third readings to bylaw number 4746, 2017.
Thank you. Are there any speakers to this item? Are there any speakers to this item? Third and final time, are there any speakers to this item? Seeing none, I'll declare this item closed.
Item 3 is an application to amend City of Coquitlam zoning bylaw to rezone the property at 934 Walls Avenue from RS1 one family residential to RT1 two family residential. This is bylaw number 4743.
Item 3 is proposed zoning amendment bylaw number 4743, 2017, located at 934 Walls Avenue. The subject property is located along the south side of Walls Avenue, east of Blue Mountain Street. The subject property is currently zoned RS1, one family residential, as are the immediately surrounding properties. The subject property is designated neighborhood attached residential in the Mayorville neighborhood plan. The applicant proposes a rezoning from RS1 one family residential to RT1 two family residential to allow for a subdivision into 2 10.1 meter wide lots, each with an approximate area of 377.7 square meters. This slide shows the future redevelopment potential for the neighborhood, with a rezoning to RT1, two-family residential, or RT3, triplex and quadruplex residential, under the neighborhood attached residential designation. The red outlined properties show properties currently under application for subdivision. The light blue properties show properties which could be redeveloped as duplexes. The darker blue properties show properties which could be redeveloped as triplexes. The gray properties show properties already at build-out. Each lot will be able to accommodate 2 parking spaces within a garage and 1 parking pad for a potential secondary suite. Staff recommend that Council give second and third readings to bylaw number 4743, 2017.
Okay. Are there any speakers to this item? Are there any speakers to this item? The third and final time, are there any speakers to this item? Seeing none, I'll declare this item closed.
Item 4, the last item on public hearing agenda, is an application to amend City of Coquitlam zoning bylaw to rezone the property at 1139 Dansey Avenue from RS1 one-family residential to RT1 two-family residential. This is bylaw number 4744.
Item 4 is proposed zoning amendment bylaw number 4744, 2017, located at 1139 Dansey Avenue. The subject property is located along the north side of Dansey Avenue, east of Marmont Street. The subject property is currently zoned RS1 one-family residential, as are the immediately surrounding properties. The subject property is designated neighborhood attached residential in the Austin Heights neighborhood plan. The applicant proposes a rezoning from RS1 one-family residential to RT1 two-family residential to allow for a subdivision into two 10.7 meter wide lots with an area of approximately 387.7 square meters. This slide shows the redevelopment potential for the neighborhood if properties are rezoned to RT1 two-family residential or RT3 triplex and quadruplex residential under the neighborhood attached residential designation. The red outlined property shows a property which is currently under subdivision review. The light blue properties show properties which could be redeveloped as duplexes. The darker blue properties show properties which could be redeveloped as triplexes. And the gray properties show properties already at build-out. Each lot will be able to accommodate 2 parking spaces within a garage and 1 parking pad for a potential secondary suite. Staff recommend that Council give second and third readings to bylaw number 4744, 2017.
We have registered speakers for this, Darshan Brar and Gurdeep Bailing, at 3010 Boundary Road in Burnaby.
Honorable Mayor and respected council members, my name is Darshan Brar. I own this property in partnership with my friend Gurdeep Billing, and we intend to build 2 single-family houses. Right now, I have lived in Government Road area, North Burnaby, for the last 35 years, and now I want to downsize and move to Coquitlam. So I'm speaking for the subdivision of the property. So I have not much to say. Yeah.
Okay, but you're here if there's any questions. I understand. Thank you very much. Our first, that was the applicant, of course. Our first registered speaker on the issue is Gordon Chu on behalf of Young and Susan Bay, and their address is 1143 Dansey. Is Gordon Chu here? Okay, we'll open the floor to anyone else. Are there any other speakers to this item? Are there any other speakers to this item? Third and final time, are there any other speakers to this item? As is customary, we'll go back to the list. Is Gordon Chu here? Seeing none, I'll declare this item and the public hearing closed. We'll take a few minutes to reconfigure the microphones, and we will start a council meeting shortly.